and we have a nice crowd today. I was a little bit concerned when we got going here. I said, "Boy, maybe the title didn't capture enough of what's needed out there," which is always possible. So the webinar is entitled "Qualitative Analysis in the Age of AI." We're all getting our heads around this. What can it do? Are students learning? And what's our responsibility as faculty to to assess students in using this. And while we're going to be adding other kind of features to kind of document students' reflections of this, at the moment, this presentation is kind of about how to use the tool, but know that reflection elements are going to be interweaved or at the end of the process where students have an opportunity to reflect on and change things. So, okay, with that being said, and I'm James Lani, and on the call is also Melissa Moran, the president, Samantha, who can assist students, and Ashley, who can assist with trials, demonstrations, and reviewing courseware, all of which we have. So, AI is obviously a game changer in the world. I mean, I hear Bill Gates say, for the guy who made PCs and saying this is the most profound technological innovation that we've had in his lifetime. That's saying something. The ability to be more efficient is huge. So I have personally spoken with folks and as they manually coded for 50 hours post reading, then coding process, we've anecdotally have done the same thing in 5 minutes, whatever X that is, 12 times 5, 60X of that, okay? And then we actually even extended some of their themes that they had not thought about. So huge time saver. We've included 15 different approaches to the methodology because it occurred to us that as you go through the coding process, you have particular methodologies in mind. And I'm reminded of my background is in clinical psychology, and a particular utterance from a client means very different things from a cognitive point of view and a psychoanalytic point of view, and the other, 100 different points of views or theoretical framework. So having that in mind is really helpful. Certainly, coding is a pain in the neck, pain in the butt. And we also now offer within the past, I don't know, few months, have a draft of a discussion from that methodological framework. So we have that. Okay. Where do these 160 hours come from? Well, there's excerpting to be had. And from those excerpts, seeing which ones go together, and then developing a code. Perhaps those codes are not necessarily, but often, particularly those with 20 plus codes, you have to put those into theme buckets. We also have a feature that then aligns the themes and your research questions. That's to say, which themes go with which research questions, and then what is the rationale for that. We do have integrated reliability and kappa features, which are very simple. I'm not going to talk much about it, but know that that functionality is there. Fewer people do it than my liking, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But know that integrated reliability is a good practice. Basically saying, hey, gosh, I found these themes and these excerpts kind of support that. Can other individuals also do that? and then discussion. So basically, some of the formatting is you're going to upload your transcripts. The the typical protocol is I have 10 participants and I upload 10 transcripts. It doesn't have to be that way though, particularly if certain aspects of the interview are really discrete in nature, or the interviews themselves are discrete. My typical example is if I am looking at uh, reflections around elementary schools, and I have stakeholders that are parents and administrators and faculty, they may well have very different um, perceptions around safety or environment or academics or whatever. So it might well, I would probably suggest in that case to actually do three discrete analyses. Then, of course, you can collapse them and say, hey, gosh, these themes apply across all stakeholders. These themes apply to particular stakeholders. And so just know that be thoughtful about how those transcripts are being uploaded and what makes sense. You can upload those transcripts via audio or video as well as text files. We charge for that. Okay, so you can do that if you're doing it from some audio file, have at that. But of course, Zoom also offers that feature, and it would behoove you to enable the transcription functionality there. And when you have recordings, you'll see recordings and transcripts, and then organize that data as you see fit during the upload. You should also be prepared to upload your research questions, um, theoretical framework, and so forth. So, have your methodology close at hand, is, I guess, the point there. One protocol is with deductive, and the other one is with, excuse me, deductive and inductive. The distinction there is that inductive, you're not going in with codes, okay? You're allowing the tool to both excerpt and code. In the deductive process, you're going in with codes and you find excerpts to perhaps support those codes. So one of the workflows for inductive would be to upload the data, of course. You're not going to know whether or not those codes are resonant or resonating with you unless you really are familiar with those. Most folks doing the analysis have done the interviews, but of late I've seen teams working on it, and the whole team wasn't there during the interview process. So it would be essential to have a great familiarization with that. The inductive, as I say, goes out. It finds important excerpts. It then combines those important excerpts together and develops a code name and code description. That's a heavy lift right there. Probably the biggest lift. So to be able to do that in a few moments is kind of a big deal. Certainly the evaluation step 4 to evaluate those AI codes, rename them, merge them, and then you also have the opportunity to create new codes. Throughout the process, you can create new codes, add and delete excerpts at will. Then we have a thematizing process. That's a structured process that does a few things. One, it's deciding, what is the optimal number of themes that captures all of these codes. You can, of course, increase that or decrease that. I think you can go up to 20 different themes. Personally, my experience is that, you want a handful, 7, 9, that you could wrap your brain around. to be able to have a reader walk away with some sense of what those themes are would be helpful. As with the codes, you can edit those, the names, the descriptions. Okay. And then you can do, really, we have enabled a step 7, which is now putting together those research questions and those themes. And then, of course, you can download everything. Deductive is similar, except that you're uploading your codes first. And then you're finding excerpts to go with it. And then you can kind of go through the other process of tying them together in themes, aligning them with the research questions, and downloading. So a new feature that we have is the methodological approaches that are supported, and you can see the various approaches. As I say, from the psychological perspective, there's different orientations here. There's different thematic orientations, and we do support all of those, both in the excerpting process and coding process, but also in the discussion of those, which is important, discussing of those themes. So once you complete the analysis, you're going to make sure that you have the methodological framework in mind, and then a discussion draft will come thereafter. Okay, now it's time to go into the live demo. If you do have data uploaded, or Melissa, maybe throw my email in there. I'm happy to grab your email and upload data and kind of work with it from there. For those that don't want to upload or don't want to log on, no problem. Okay. We will take questions and answers. Your questions, my answers, best I can, and then this whole recording will come to you. And then while other folks are logging in, let me just put out the contact information. Again, Samantha for students, Ashley for faculty, Melissa for everything else. And then our phone number, our email address, our website address, which has both the Intellectus Qualitative tool and the shameless plug for the Intellectus Lit Review and the Intellectus Statistics tool. For students or faculty, you can use the QR code and we can get a consultation going. We really are here to support faculty in understanding what the functionality is and then providing those kind of demos, courseware, and trials as you like. So, okay. That being said, let's get to it. Okay, so all of our tools are web-based. Okay, so there's when other functionality is brought online, you don't have to upload this thing at all, or update, I should say. You create projects here that you could either upload your data, and then here, once you name your project, you should do well to have your research questions ready at hand. Okay. All right. Have your framework ready at hand. It's defaulting to Lincoln and Guba, but you can obviously connect into these other ones that are here. Purpose statement, theoretical framework, and participant description is helpful for the discussion draft. Okay. I could take a sample project. So let's just do this. Okay, whatever today is, March 12th. And once you fill in some of those, you can then just go ahead and add transcripts here. You can also upload text files here. Upload audio or video. They'll give you a quick snapshot of this is the fee to transcribe that, or you can just paste in blank transcripts here. I think we can. Oh, I had one in mind here. If you have not filled out that information, those three dots here prior to opening it, you can go to update and you can get to those options there as well. Let's just take the one set of transcripts. So here we have 5 transcripts that are uploaded. I'm going to go ahead and we do have codes and themes here, but for demonstrating purposes, let me move those off for a second. You can see quite a few codes and themes here. Okay. I should mention here that icon is representing the theme. That icon here is representing the code. All right. So let's go ahead and start fresh here. Delete. Okay. So let's just start fresh. So I have the transcripts uploaded. To get to the inductive, you go to AI tools. Go to inductive. Tells you what it's doing. At this point, it's now excerpting. By the way, it's not a linear process. If you have 5 transcripts or 55 transcripts, it's going to look at those simultaneously, but it doesn't take as long. It's working pretty quickly, relatively speaking, relative to 50 hours. So just to know, we've uploaded 500-page document, and it still took just a few moments. So just realize what it's doing, that it's reading through all of these transcripts, it's excerpting, combining, and then developing a code name and code description. So it's identified 110 excerpts and 15 different codes. You can review these, but I typically just apply them to the project. And you can see here, if you go into a particular code, you can go to the details of it. You can then evaluate the code name, code description, and then the particular excerpts that are supporting that. You can then, moving along that inductive process, go to automatic thematizing. Again, it's evaluating those 10 codes or 15 codes, figuring out how many themes there should be, and then developing a theme name and theme description. It's identified 7, but you can up and down that. Okay. And then apply that to the project. And then, as we did for the codes, you can go in and start looking at the theme name, theme description. You can see this just has one code with it, and then it's going to have those same excerpts as it did for that code. If you went to another one with a more multifaceted code integration, you can see the codes involved with this theme and that description, and then the excerpts there. Okay, also interesting here. You can see that it takes different languages. I think it supports not only languages, but different variations within that language. So you can upload different languages. I should also note that although we have done an inductive process here of coding and thematizing and excerpting, that you can add codes manually here. You can add additional themes here as well. So now we have perhaps manual and AI codes, themes, and excerpts. If I wanted to add a particular excerpt to a code, I can go highlight that and just click the plus button where it would now add that particular excerpt to that particular code and hence the theme as well. I like to then go to the insights document and I'm going to delete this and see what we have here. So I like to go to the bar chart and here, let me just start with the codes. You can see for the participants are here on the right. The codes are to the left. You can scroll over these things. Okay. And you can see the kind of the contribution of both the number of excerpts and the number of participants involved. So for this particular code, AI knowledge and practice, or excuse me, it's AI coded. It's an AI code. You can see that 20 excerpts are involved with that code. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 participants, so everyone contributed to that. I think great code. Okay. Here, not so much. Okay. I only have 3 excerpts for these codes down here, and I may want to delete those codes. If you get to this place, you may want to stop and really evaluate those to say, maybe I shouldn't include them. Again, not as happy with just 2 folks in there. Might be important for you, but that's the evaluative process. Ditto when it comes to themes, again, translating knowledge into empathic and effective practice, everyone's contributing, many excerpts involved, kind of happy with that. Less happy with 6 excerpts with 2 participants. Not the worst in the world, but if it was 1 participant with 1 excerpt, maybe not. I mean, it did find it, but you should look closely at that. So I use this, the bar chart to kind of help me sort which codes and excerpts to keep and which ones to discard. Okay. So the next process I go through is really the research question rationale, or perhaps we should be calling it alignment. That I have different 2 research questions here. And you can use AI to suggest which theme goes with that research question. I personally like to endorse all of them. It's a little bit more editing later, but I want to tie all of those themes to that research question. So in that rationale, I have the research question 1 restated here, and I'm intentionally tying that particular theme to that research question. And the question is, why does that go together? This rationale is a suggested rationale of how they bridge those 2 things. Okay, stop there for a second. The next thing I want to do is to do the theme description. As with the earlier process, with that alignment, I have these different themes. I like to check all of the excerpts. Again, it's a lot more deleting to be had. but I have the theme, I have the description, the AI description of that theme, and then I have the supporting excerpts. Again, you're going to have to edit these, but I like to have the whole list of them. And then I would select 3 to 5 representative excerpts that support that theme. And the couple of best practices there are two come to mind. One is that I want excerpts from different people. Okay. I don't necessarily want excerpts from the same person. I mean, it's supposed to be a theme, not Joe said. Okay. All right. So you want some diversity there with respect to the participants, A. The other thing is that they should be very curated. That if I have all of these different themes, that if an individual, say outside coder, okay, looked at that excerpt, that they can say it goes with that theme and not those other themes. So they should be kind of unique in nature. All right. So that's a second best practice. The best practice when it comes to rationale is that these particular themes should go with a particular research question. If the same theme is loading, so to speak, on every research question, I'm like, how is that theme unique? Or how is that theme uniquely answering that research question? That's not simpatico. So when you evaluate the themes, you should be looking for those unique excerpts. And when you're looking at the rationales, you should be looking for those unique themes to go with the rationale. I hope I'm making sense. Okay. Another feature as we move through this is the discussion draft. Here, you should absolutely have the research questions, but you should throw in these other kind of approaches as well. Okay. All right. Um, it gives you a little description of that and then submit that. Okay. You should talk about your participants, any kind of demographic or particular characteristic. That was your inclusion criteria. That's going to be helpful. Okay. This does take a minute, but that's the process for it. I'll just go to when it's done. And I think if I go to, that may be too lengthy, but let's find out. If I go to insights and I go to discussion, you can see that that discussion is going to have an introduction from a particular point of view. Okay. It's going to have a summary of the findings. This is quite extensive. Um, Maybe that was a good choice or not. It's going to have theoretical implications. And for faculty, what's coming on board is the opportunity for students to reflect on that. So after they read that, they're going to be able to write their own reflection of that, which is the evidence of the critical thinking around that particular topic or section, be it summary, be it theoretical implications. We also have a practical implications. They should reflect on all of these things. That should be an instruction to them, should you want that. And then there is a limitations section, a future recommendations for future research. Again, the student should be involved in the process intimately. Above and beyond editing the document, there should be and which should happen, of course. There should be some reflections around each of those. And frankly, I mean, in addition to the reflections, personally, I'd be curious about your input about this. I think that there probably should have been or should be both a download draft and a edited draft to see not only my reflections around each of these, but what changes I actually did make. So I think that that is a good practice. Faculty weigh in on that. Is that important, not important? What are your thoughts about that? And then as conclusion and references, because in this discussion draft, we are referencing not only Braun and Clark here, okay, but other folks as well. Okay. All right. All right. Let me start. I see a couple of questions here. Does one choice of methodological approach change how the AI parses the transcripts? Melissa, correct me. I believe that answer is yes, correct?
Yes.
Both in the excerpting as well as the code and theme description, as well as in the discussion. Is
Right.
that accurate?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. Um, okay. Hi, I want to try with my data. Absolutely. I already signed up. Great. I cannot use it. It asks for an access code. Okay, so that's one of the gals are going to talk to you about that. Um, okay, can you make the screen bigger? Sorry, just getting to that. Okay. Okay, so then all this gets downloaded. Okay. And in that download, here we will have, as I say, I just have the discussion draft here. We'll have the discussion draft, and you can see this quite lengthy. Now, this client had a lot of interviews, and but you can see a 26-page draft for your consideration, as well as the references. And then we will also have, in some short order, um, it's relative, all the reflections of the students thereafter to kind of have evidence above and beyond the edits of what they reflected on. And I think this is probably the place that, since it's in a Word document, to actually have them track changes. I think that would be a very useful thing to do. Um, and as they say, don't need that. Okay, that you can see the additions and not. So you have the functionality of, just to kind of bring it all together, of excerpting, coding, thematizing, rationale for the research question, the reflections throughout when looking at this document, and then tracking those changes. And I think, to me, that's a reasonable a workflow for students. For faculty, of course, you don't need to be reflecting and documenting that, just kind of using it. Okay. Did anyone share the project? Let me just refresh.
If you did share your project too, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask questions.
Okay. While we're waiting for folks to think, do you have a license for students? Of course. So we both folks adopt it individually. Melissa can share that link, and Ashley can give you a trial if you'd like. We also very often sell to departments, and soon will be in the whole institution. So all three of those kind of ways of doing that. Thank you for the question. I should also share, since we're have a moment, that we do have the Intellectus Lit Review that is both uploading your articles. That's creating a synthesis of those groupings, individual drill down of each article, as well as a gap in the literature. The Intellectus Statistics tool is, excuse me, the Intellectus Statistics tool is conducting analyses, putting things in APA format, and then also drafting the discussion chapter. So that's all available here as well. Okay. Any questions at all? Okay. If you do have questions that come to you or want trials or demonstrations, you can go back to this. Which has Samantha's contact information, Ashley's contact information, Melissa's contact information, our general phone number, our website to get all of our tools, and then for students or faculty, if you want a quick 20-minute kind of either a needs assessment or faculty with adoption questions, you can QR code me there. Okay. Other thoughts or questions? Okay. Well, you will get a video shortly around this. Also, upcoming webinars will also be um, shown there with dates and times. And Melissa, anything you would like to add before we close?
No, I think that's it. We'll follow up with an email, so feel free to reply to that if you have additional questions.
Terrific. Thank you all for your attention. Please share the recording with others. And thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.